Australia has a growing wealth divide which is pushing down the standard of living for all Australians. This is evident from a number of data points. As of 2021, the top 10% owned 46% of the wealth, and the next 30% owned 38% of all the wealth. This leaves the remaining 60% with just 17% of the wealth. You can see it in the homelessness problem, which is related to housing affordability for both homeowners and renters. You can see it in mental health. The world we live in means we need to work harder for longer to meet societal expectations. Many men feel they can't provide due to the economic situation, which is contributing to mental illness among men. Many women are struggling with now having the expectation of having to work because you can't buy a home on one income these days. And at the same time, trying to be parents, which must take an increased emotional toll. People are making decisions to have less kids due to economic reasons. The reason I mention the birth rate is that it's so low that if we took out migration, our population would be shrinking. If the natural population is shrinking, that gives me a tell on what the economic situation is. If the wealthy can buy more assets for themselves and put themselves in a better position, then that's what they'll do. They wouldn't be wealthy if they just spent all of their money. This means that the wealthy can buy more scarce assets, for example, property, and that pushes up the price for everyone. Poor people must get into more debt to buy a house or pay more rent for somewhere to live. This is an example of how the wealth gap has been widening. It's important to note here that just because the gap between the rich and the poor is growing, it doesn't mean the average person can't make it financially. To clarify, that means to do the things you want in life, to own a home, have a family, and have enough for retirement so that you're not living out the rest of your days in poverty. If you've watched the channel before, you know I'm not trying to paper over any cracks here. The fact is that we've all been dealt the same economic hand. This video is going to need a not financial advice disclaimer, so there it is. This is an opinion, so take it with a grain of salt. The question is, how do we get enough assets over our working lifetime? The specific challenge with that in most recent decades is debt. The average first home buyer is 37 years old and you have a loan contract for 30 years and you retire at 70 years. Then will you be able to acquire enough assets to fund a decent retirement? Unfortunately, property prices are the way they are. So people have to figure out a way to knock their debt off as soon as possible. Otherwise, they're not safe from being on the wrong side of the wealth gap. If you have a mortgage, there is a link in the description to my Debt Destroyer page, which shows 3 easy strategies anyone can use to pay off their home loan faster. I want to go back to the growing wealth gap. Let's try and visualize something here. Let's say the rich, say the top 10% own 46% of all the wealth, and the bottom 60% own 17% of all the wealth. For the rich to get richer, they need to get their wealth from somewhere. The question is, who do they take it from? It's not the guys that have 0 assets and 0 wealth, the guys right on the bottom. The answer is they get it from the guys that are just above the bottom who have a little bit of wealth. And this is why the segment of the people known as the working poor is growing. The reason Australians don't see the growing wealth gap is because they're not feeling it. But that can change really fast. For example, at 2% interest rates, no one was talking about the growing wealth divide between the rich and the poor. However, in 2025, just a few years later, it seems a lot more people are talking about it. If the major problem today is too much debt due to house prices, then how do you go about minimizing your debt so that you can acquire more assets? There is no silver bullet answer to this question. Some are going to figure out how to increase their income so they can knock off their debt faster. Some are going to tighten the buckle. Some are going to move to a location where the debt is more manageable. One of the reasons why I do all of this content is to get people to a place of personal responsibility. I try to frame these issues in a way that encourages people to take action. Complaining about the hand we've been dealt and sitting on YouTube or other social media platforms can be a good distraction. Trust me, I'm guilty of that, but it doesn't get you to where you need to go. It doesn't get you on the right side of the wealth divide. I hope this video helps someone out there. Please let me know what you think. Be kind though. One more thing, thanks to all the people that have commented or contacted me recently. I'm sorry I can't reply to all the comments. I'm trying to run a business and make it financially just like we all are. If you want to support the channel and you need help with a home loan, please book a time to chat with me. Cheers.